Hold on. This as well. Very nice. I'd like to start off by saying that the winters in this country are really pussy. It's unbelievable. Last night I was so hot. I was like, is winter done already? The ants are coming out already. All the little critters that come out when the sun's out. Holy. Man, that winter was short-lived, man. I mean, I guess it ran its course. It's the usual 3-4 months. But I'm not satisfied. It wasn't even 3-4 months though. It was like a month where it was cold. Where you're like, okay, it's cold. But then after that, it was kind of like, I will say, there was a stretch of time where the weather was really ideal. With like, it's not too hot, it's not too cold. You can wear a hoodie, but there are other people that are not wearing hoodies or like warm clothes. So it's kind of like, it's in between. We might still be in that period, but some days it's hot. Some days it's hot. So you can't be out here just wearing hoodies. I'm a winter clothes guy. I like wearing jackets and hoodies and stuff like that. I just like wearing layers. That's just my vibe. I'm wearing a shirt right now because it's too hot for a hoodie, right? It's too hot for a hoodie. Anyway, someone suggested a great topic, talking about 9 to 5s and all that stuff. The rat race, the money chase. I mean, I've spoken about it before, and there's another YouTuber who, there are a bunch of YouTubers who've been speaking about this topic. In fact, I liked one video that was speaking about this topic, and all of a sudden YouTube was spamming me with other YouTubers talking about the same topic, just about the 9 to 5 work life and how draining it can be. But there was one ASMR artist who has a second channel who was talking about this. Unfortunately, I forgot the guy's name. I wish I could remember it. I'll shout him out. I think I shouted him out during a live stream, but I forgot his name. I think he's Canadian. Pretty sure he's Canadian. He has an accent too. You can hear that Canadian accent. But anyway, I knew a girl. I guess I know a girl who, I remember having a conversation with her. She was graduating university, and I was asking her, what you gonna do afterwards? And then she said, I'm probably gonna go back and study again, like, just keep leveling up my degree and stuff like that. Then I was like, okay, after that, like I just want to know, like, what field you want to get into and stuff like that. I think she was studying psychology, or I can't remember what she was studying, but something in that realm or something. But when I asked the question, the answer she gave was kind of uncertain, like she didn't know. She just wasn't sure of what she wanted to do. And I think she admitted that she wants to keep studying because it buys her more time to not deal with that question of what am I going to do when I leave school. If she can just be perpetually in school, she doesn't have to think too much about the outside world, you know, the real world and all that sort of stuff. That's not a great strategy because you're just putting off the inevitable. You're going to have to deal with it eventually. I think kids from early should be primed. You should be encouraged to figure out what you want to do with your life and find that out. With women in particular, it's really looked down upon to pursue the traditional model, the traditional path of literally just getting married and being a wife. That's out of the question. Like no ways. But I think a lot of girls would free themselves from a lot of stress if they entertain that idea, because a lot of men are looking for that, right? Now I do understand in this economy it can be hard, but you know, you can always take on a part-time job or something that isn't too hectic, that won't drive you up the absolute wall. You're not in the corporate mud, you know? You're not lost in that. So I do think some ladies who don't necessarily have particular career ambitions, which is okay. Like, you know what? I was having a conversation with the same girl. I was having a conversation with her, and I was just, at the time, my frame of thinking was a bit different. I had the notion that everyone should be passionate about something and have these great career ambitions and yada yada yada, because that's how I am. You know, I've got so many things I want to get done in my life and so many things I'm passionate about, right? So I was assuming that everyone else is the same. But this one conversation I had with this particular girl opened my eyes to the reality that not everyone's like that. Not everyone is super passionate about one thing and wants to pursue that thing and be the best at that thing and yada yada yada, you know? Some people are just living their lives and enjoy having a casual life and being able to go out and just, you know, do normal things. Some people just like that and moving at their own pace and not having to worry about too much. And I think that girl in particular, you know, we've spoken at length. She has spoken about how she wants to get married, have kids, all these sort of things one day. And I think she'd be very happy. And I also think she's not the type that would be opposed to the concept of a man taking care of her if that opportunity ever presented itself. I'm just putting it out there for the ladies in particular. That's a wonderful opportunity to be blessed with. Men don't get the same luxury. I mean, these days some do. So you do get stay-at-home dads and, you know, stay-at-home husbands. But it's not very attractive. I think most women wouldn't want a man like that. And just as a man, your pride wouldn't allow it. At least most men. I understand everyone has particular circumstances, but just the general concept of a man voluntarily just being like, I don't want to work, I just want to be at home and let my wife take care of me. Not very masculine. But as a woman, it's such a privilege, it's such a superpower. If you can manage to find someone that can take care of you in this economy. I understand the economy is crazy. So some people aren't always blessed with that privilege. But if you are blessed with that privilege, if you can find a man who can take care of you, I would take that opportunity with both hands. If you're not someone that has particular ambitions. But that brings me to the particular topic of the career chase. Because we're taught that career is everything, right? And people get funneled through this system from very early, from very young. you put through the education system, and school teaches you to develop this very rigid pattern of thinking, and it teaches you that you're gonna get your high school diploma or whatever, and then you're gonna go to university and get your degree, then you're gonna get a job, and you're gonna listen to your boss just like you listened to me, the teacher, and you're gonna get paid, and then you're gonna retire, and then you'll live off of your pension and whatever else money you've accrued during that time, your savings. In America, they got the 401k, all that sort of stuff. And people are realizing, first of all, it's a damn lie. It's actually not working out that way for a lot of people. But also, it's soul draining. It's so soul destroying, crushing. Like there's no excitement to be had in that sort of life, and it's just a lot of people find that they don't fit neatly into that structure. You just clock in, clock out, and you start wondering, what's the point of my life? Do I have any purpose? Am I just a cog in a machine? Am I just part of this massive corporate mechanism? And my goal is to just generate revenue for this big business, and I have no real purpose outside of that, and yada yada yada. People get really depressed. You think about countries like Japan and Korea, which have crazy work cultures, right? Japan in particular, oh my gosh, dude. They got a forest where people, this is known for people to go there and hang themselves. They've got crazy suicide rates in that country just because of the ridiculous work hours. It's tough, man. It's tough. A lot of societies are like that. People live to work and work to live, and they have little time for anything else. And especially as things are getting crazier with regards to the economy, people are being left with little choice, you know? Slaving away, slaving away, slaving away. You have to be careful not to fall into that trap. A lot of young people are enjoying this period of time where you're in your 20s. You can travel, you can do this, you can do that. You don't have many responsibilities. That's why I always say, like, be very careful about when it comes to relationships. Don't get anyone pregnant. Don't date for the sake of dating. You end up with the wrong person and they steal away many years of your life. Don't do stuff like that. Like, be very careful. Prevention is better than the cure. There are a lot of people who've made mistakes, but it's important to get to the people who are still young, who still haven't crossed certain lines yet. It's very important, guys. I say that because, you know, a lot of young people are in their 20s right now thinking they have all the time in the world. But you're going to hit a point where all of a sudden you have all these responsibilities, one way or another, right? At some point, you're going to have to start pulling your own weight. Your parents are going to get tired of looking after you. You're going to have to start paying your fair share of rent or whatever the case may be. They might kick you out. You never know. Social pressures to be something are going to increase. You might get married, you might have children. You're going to have to start pulling up your pants and growing up and all these sort of things. So, yes, while you're young, you know, enjoy life and all these sort of things. But I also take the position of assume as much responsibility as early as possible. I think that's a great way to get ahead of life and not get taken by surprise, and also just mature at a steady rate. So for me, I would want to get married young. I would want to have children young. I don't think that's a thing for my 30s. I think that's a thing for now. But yeah, I'm just trying to establish myself financially. So we'll see. But this is a time. Your youth is your fertile ground, right? To plant seeds that will blossom into trees that will nourish you for the rest of your life. So this is a very important time, guys, to really figure out. Like, I was talking about that girl who doesn't know what the hell she wants to do with her life. But fortunately, she's still young. She still has time. but time is running out. But she still has time. This is the time, guys, to really figure out what you want to do. If you're stuck in a job, if you're in your 20s and you're stuck in a job that you absolutely hate, and you're fortunate enough to not have too many responsibilities, consider quitting. Honestly, I've been in positions where I was doing things I didn't like. I've talked before on this channel about how I was in cooking school, and I had one idea of what cooking school would be like going in, and when I was actually in it, I realized it's something else entirely. It's a very hectic, relentless career path, and you don't have much personal time. You're up early, you go home late, you barely get any holidays. It's a very hectic lifestyle, and you wouldn't think that. When you think about cooking, it seems very relaxing and cool. You know, I'm a chef. But then you start looking at the actual job and what it means to be a cook in a restaurant or on a ship or wherever, in a hotel, and you're like, this is a very intense lifestyle, and they have. That field has some of the highest drug and alcohol abuse in any career field, which was very surprising. I would never have assumed that, but it's because the pressures are so high. You know, one of the chefs that was teaching us at the cooking school was telling us about a story when he was on a cruise ship. He was working on a cruise ship. You have to understand how chaotic it can be, right? When you're operating a restaurant and you've got like hundreds of orders you need to fulfill very quickly, and customers are very picky and rude and impatient and whatever the case may be, and you need to get everything right. And everything's just moving. You can't afford to slow down. You can't like have an emotional breakdown. There's no time for you and your emotions. You have to, everyone is doing their part. Everyone has to be on it. You know, head chefs are known for being very loud and aggressive, and they shout at people and they get very angry. And if you think of like Gordon Ramsay, like that's a real thing. Like I experienced that when I was at cooking school, because they put us in a restaurant. We were working at a restaurant, and the head chef was nuts. He made grown men go to their rooms and cry. I nearly cried, but I held it in. The reason why I wanted to cry wasn't necessarily because of him. It was, for me, it was just like, I realized I'm trapped. I realized, oh, I've made a mistake. I am in this field that I don't want to be in, and I hate it here. And this is not what I thought it was going to be, and I don't know how to get out of this. And I was getting emotional, and just all the pressures were mounting. And on top of that, while I was having this emotional moment, a friend had come to me. He was talking to me. I just wanted to be alone, and he was trying to have a conversation, a full-on conversation about something unimportant, and I was just trying to hold it in while talking to him, and that just made it worse. So I felt the tears coming. I think he could see on my face, like, there's something wrong with this guy. So he eventually caught the vibes and left me alone to have my little moment, and I don't think I actually cried. It's been years, guys. It's been years since I've shed tears, so even if I wanted to, it's hard. It's hard for me to summon the tears. That's actually difficult. But anyway, that stuff is real. Like, when you see Gordon Ramsay, like, you throwing plates at people. Our head chef was literally throwing plates at people and stuff, like, and it's not funny. On TV, it might look entertaining and whatnot. It's not funny when it's actually happening to you. It's like, this guy's crazy. Because you're not used to being spoken to that way. You're not used to, it's the concept of being treated like that is nuts. But anyway, I'm trying to paint a picture of how intense that environment is. So on the cruise ship, like I was saying, the chef who was teaching us was telling us, it was very, very intense. A lot of running around, fulfilling orders. And there's no moment for pause, right? There's no moment to relax. And the head chef was calling out an order that had just been received in the kitchen, and he was barking out the order, and then he had a heart attack. He caught a heart attack and died on the spot. And because the lunch service was still going on, they couldn't stop. They had to drag his body out and continue, and someone else replaced him, and they had a service for him afterwards. I mean, a memorial service for him after lunch was over or something like that. I don't know if it was lunch or dinner. I don't know what it was. But that shows you how intense this industry is, dude. And if you're on a cruise ship, you're trapped on this boat in the middle of the ocean. You can't go home. You can't be like, I need to go home. You have to keep going. You have to keep working. You can't just break down and go to your room and cry. And you'll be given a moment, I guess. But afterwards, you have to get it together. So it's not for the faint of heart. It's a very, very intense industry sometimes. It depends where you're working. I'm sure not every place is like that. I'm sure some people who are cooks have a great time. But usually it's because the people operating those establishments, like the head chefs or whatever the case may be, would have come from those crazy ass environments and told themselves, I'll never subject my own employees to that. So they create an environment that's nice for everyone. That's what I've seen. So, for example, the chef that was teaching us, he was a very nice guy. But it's because he came from that very rough system that he understood the importance of being nice. Not everyone comes out that way. For example, our head chef was an asshole because other people were assholes to him. So he's just carrying on the tradition. He thinks it's just the way it is. That's just the way it's supposed to be. So he carries it on that way. So some people come out of that with different interpretations. Anyway, so I was just thinking to myself, more likely than not, I'm going to be placed in the sort of environment that I don't want to be in. If I do pursue this cooking career, I'm probably going to work at some restaurant or some hotel, maybe a cruise ship, you never know. And it pays well, it pays very, very well. And you could work towards, saving money and opening your own restaurant someday. But I just asked myself, like, do I want to go through that? Is that what I'm really passionate about? Am I so passionate about cooking that I'm willing to do all that? Because, again, the money was good, and you want to make your mother proud. My mom just wants to know that her sons are doing well in life, and she was very excited, right? When she was researching the field of cooking and how lucrative it can be, she was very excited. Like, oh my God, my son found a great career path, whatnot. She was excited. So there was a lot of pressure to stay in it and keep that going. But then I was like, I'm not happy. This is terrible. I hate this. And the longer I stay in this, the harder it's going to be to get out. So I told myself, if I'm going to get out, I'm going to get out now. It had been 2 or 3 months that I had been in that space, and I was doing well, I was doing well. We had practicals in class where you get to cook certain things, and I enjoyed that, and I used to do well in that, and I had a nice relationship with our chef, who was our teacher, and he liked he liked what I had to offer in that regard. And the tests weren't too difficult. I was doing well. I didn't have to study and all that sort of stuff, but I was unhappy. I was deeply, deeply unhappy. I was like, I can't see myself doing this indefinitely. I think I'll go crazy. I don't know what's going to happen to me, but I just don't see myself doing this without paying some price in the end. So I decided to myself in that moment, I'm dropping out. I don't know how I'm gonna drop out. I don't know how I'm gonna explain this to my mom. I don't know how I'm gonna explain this to my friends. I don't know how I'm gonna explain this to everyone. The family as well was very expectant of me in this regard. You know, and the whole family's like, oh my God, you're going to cooking school, you're gonna be a chef. Oh my God, how wonderful. You know, everyone was just like, wow, what a guy, you know? He's doing something with his life. So I was like, I was like devastated because I realized that I'm not staying. I'm dropping out. So in my mind, I'm like, how am I going to explain this to people? But ultimately, I was like, if I'm gonna leave, I need to leave now. I can't keep sinking deeper and deeper into this pit. It's gonna become harder and harder to leave. So I spoke to my mom on the phone, had a conversation with her. You know, she pushed back and asked me, "Are you sure?" Da, 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 da. But ultimately, even though I could hear in her voice that she was very disappointed, and that was heartbreaking. That was very heartbreaking. I could hear that she was very disappointed. Ultimately, she was like, "You need to do what's best for you, and I just want you to be happy." Yada yada yada, all that soppy stuff, you know. So I got her blessing. I got her permission to drop out. And then the next part was to speak to the headmistress of the school and tell her I'm dropping out, and she made it very difficult. She was trying to talk me out of it. And there was this girl I was kind of involved with at the time at that school, and she was very helpful because she told me, like, when you try and drop out, the headmistress is going to play a whole lot of psychological games with you. Because, by the way, I wasn't the first person who tried to drop out. You know, it's intense, guys. You have to understand it's a very intense field. And a lot of people were very unhappy and had been metaphorically talked off the ledge by this headmistress. Like, people who wanted to leave and were ultimately persuaded to stay and stuff like that. And there are a lot of people who want to leave but can't leave because, you know, maybe they'd come from different countries to attend this school, and like to drop out and go back home, like, the pressure is too much. So some people just stayed out of necessity, like they had no other choice, even though they wanted to leave and whatnot. So this girl was just telling me, like, she was preparing me. You're gonna hear some things, and she's gonna try very hard to get you to stay, but you need to commit. Like, no matter what she says, you need to, like, she was actually, like, it was actually crazy. Like, now that I'm thinking about it, it was actually like a wonderful thing she did for me. But she was just preparing me, like, she's going to get you to try and stay, and she's gonna make you doubt yourself and all these sort of things, but you need to stick to your guns, to your convictions. And if I hadn't had that talk with her, I might have bent the knee. I might have given in, because I got into that room and oh my God, the psychological warfare was crazy, guys. This woman was so good at, like, trying to use emotional manipulation and stuff, because I told her about, like, my dad and my history with my dad, and how he was not there for my family, and he was, you know, the type of guy who doesn't work, and he just wasn't a responsible person, and he wasn't there for his family and whatnot. And she was like, "Do you want to be like your dad? Like if you just drop out, like, what are you gonna do with your life? Like, you need to do something with your life. You can't just," like, it was crazy, guy. And I was just really thinking about it, like, oh my gosh, am I tripping? Am I making a mistake? But I was remembering that girl's words, like stick to your convictions. Like, you came in here with a mission, stick to the mission. Don't let her trick you. And I just kept telling her, no, like, I'm dropping out. No, I'm dropping. And eventually, finally, she conceded and said, okay, you can leave. And that we ended the meeting. I left the office, and it's like a weight was lifted off my shoulder. when I left that office and I was just walking home to my little apartment where I was living alone at the time. And yeah, dropped out. It was crazy, man. And I was as free as a bird for a long time. No, I have been as free as a bird since then. And ever since that moment, I told myself, I'm never doing something to please other people ever again. I'm never getting into something for the sake of money or like security ever again. If I'm going to do something, it's going to be on my own terms. But that means I need to work very hard because I don't want to be like my dad. I don't want to be a bum. I don't want to be unable to take care of my family, stuff like that. I want to make something of myself. So I'm going to work very hard and achieve that. But it's going to be on my own terms. It was a crazy moment. So never again, man. Never again. Well, I did start working for my mom, but that was it's working for your mom, you know. It's like very laid back. The hours were very minimal, and I was getting paid handsomely for very little work because my mom is generous. And yeah, the job wasn't intense at all. I could make music at work. I would like have my laptop and make beats while I'm at work, and now and then you might be required to drive around and collect materials and stuff. It's a furniture business, so every now and then you have to shop for supplies or deliver something, go to a customer's house and fix something, stuff like that. But it was very minimal work. Like, I had a lot of time on my hands, and I was getting paid quite well considering the amount of work I was putting in. But eventually even then I was like, as much as this is not that intense, I'm still feeling like I'm wasting my time here. So eventually I was like, I think at the time the channel was growing. The channel had reached a point where I was like, there's something going on here. There's something promising here. So I was like, I'm going to take a gamble. I'm going to take a risk and just quit my job and try, get the channel to a point where I'm earning at least as much as I'm earning at my mom's job, at my mom's work company. And I reached that point a couple months ago, actually. I think it had taken me almost a year to get to that point. I think it had taken me almost a year to get to that point. I'm not sure how long it took me. It might not have been a year. It might have been less than a year. I'm not sure. But because I drop every day and I have this ridiculous backlog of videos as well, so people need to understand. I have 900 plus videos, right? There's a lot of videos. People watch the old stuff on top of the new stuff. And because I'm dropping every single day, it equals, actually, despite the fact that I'm a small channel and I get like 1.5 to 2,000 views on average, despite those relatively small numbers, because of the high volume, it actually adds up to a considerable amount of revenue. Considerable for a young person without many responsibilities. My mom always tells me there are families who have less money to use for themselves. Once you've gotten the kids' diapers and you've paid the rent and you've paid the house worker and all these sort of things, the maid. Once you've gotten all your expenses out, people don't have that much money left over. And it might be around what you're earning or even less. So she was telling me, like, you should count your lucky stars that you earn as much as you do, because there are a lot of people who don't have that much money to spend on themselves. If I had responsibilities, that would be a different story, but I don't. So, you know, I'm very blessed right now, and I'm trying to maximize that and get to a point where I can start thinking about starting a family and all that sort of stuff. But this is encouragement to people to even if you're not young, even if you're at a point where you're up there in age, obviously be careful if you've got people you need to take care of with the amount of money you're earning. Always keep that in mind. But it's important to know that you will be most productive in fields that you actually care about, you're actually passionate about. So always keep that in mind. Do what you're passionate about if you can, and don't be afraid to take certain risks. Life is short, man. Life is short. Anyway, I hope y'all made it to the end. If you made it to the end, drop a briefcase emoji so I can know who made it to the end. Briefcase, because we're talking about work. You know, I have to pray and on my videos, dear Father. Thank you for this individual watching this right now. Thank you for making them whole, unique, and guide them on a path towards peace, prosperity, and purpose. Thank you for blessing this person with wonderful people in their life, love them, take care of them, and bring the absolute best out of them. And thank you for maintaining them without a dare to do the same thing. Thank you for blessing this person with love and marriage, and sustaining the love of marriage and making it very, very, very happy. Thank you for blessing this person with a spirit of gratitude so that they can give thanks for all the wonderful things of life, and by giving thanks they can find peace, contentment, and attract even more blessings. Let your presence be felt in this person's life so they know that you're God, that you're real, that you love them, and always going to be there for them. Good health, long life, and happiness of this person and everyone they care about. In your mighty name I pray, in Jesus' name I pray. Amen, 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 amen.